My name is Lena Tyler Cast of the J.P. Weaver Company, and welcome to our world of ornament. We want to share with you some of the secrets that have been held very, very close by the Europeans for centuries so that you can enjoy it in your home, in your own way, as I have in mine. As we here at J.P. Weaver have researched to find the formulas, the techniques, the way they did it in some of the beautiful palaces and mansions of Europe, we share with you some of those secrets. The formulas and the doughs that we use are identical to what our company did in England from the time of the late 1700s with the work of the Adam brothers and the great Adam style in Europe. With the formulas and the techniques that we use in making our ornament, we've made an ornament that is almost foolproof for your use, and is certainly very, very affordable when it's used carefully to decorate cabinets, doors, walls, fireplaces, anything where you want to use an interior ornament from very simple decoration to very complex decoration. That's the beauty of this particular ornament form. As you look at the background behind me, you can see some of our work. Everything that you see, we have designed and made ourselves. It has the typical European look. You can take your designing this far, or you can make it more simple. We show you this to show you the direct tie with historical ornamentation. Much of the work that we do today, of course, is much more simple and much more in a contemporary vein. As we as a company have tried to make this very, very usable and very affordable for you, we've designed a series of books that are design tools for you, where every page where our ornaments are presented is in exactly the same scale to every other page, and the ornaments are all reproduced to 1/4 of their full size. On the back page of your brochure, it tells you step by step how to use that scale to your advantage. When we're designing here at Weavers, what we do is we photocopy the pages in the book of the ornaments that we want to use, and then we will cut and paste and do a layout of those pages. Once we do our paste up, then all we have to do is enlarge it 400%, and that takes it to full scale for a full-size template. This is a typical page from volume number 2. On it, of course, all the ornaments are presented in 1/4 their full size. As we design, what we will do is we will photocopy the pages that have the pieces that we think that we want to use to do our composites. You can see this shell right here, and then this scroll up here, which we photocopied, cut out, and put together into the little design that you see displayed at the bottom of the page. This design in full scale, when you go to install it, is about 32 inches by about 8 inches high. And it is a composite of maybe 7 or 8 pieces in all. After you've done your paste up, then all you have to do is take the design to a blueprinter, have them enlarge at 400% to full scale. As I said, you'll find a step-by-step procedure of how to do this on the back page of your brochure. Your brochure also contains a further description of the various books. If you have any question in your mind as to which book you feel would be right for you, call us and we will help you in that selection. Rob is now going to show you the very, very simple equipment and tools that we use for our professional installations.
Good afternoon. My name is Rob, and welcome to the J.P. Weaver Company in Burbank, California. Now at every station, at a compost station, you'll find these various tools. The tools that we use are basic. It doesn't take a lot to make this stuff work. Well, we have wood chisels, gouges for doing detailing. We call this a head knife. We use this for cutting and trimming the ornament. This is called a pointing tool, which is called detailing. The X-Acto knife, which we talked about earlier, is just a fantastic tool for detailing, trimming, cutting. And we have a small brusher that we use also for detailing of the ornament. And a pencil, 45 square, which we use in the fretwork and lining up things and keeping things straight. And then a standard straight edge. And straight edge, you can get these in various lengths and dimensions, widths. The most important tool for the composition installation is a 2-burner hot plate, such as this one here. We like it because it's portable, it goes anywhere, it's tough, very durable. You can pick it up at any restaurant supply store, as well as this top stainless steel pan, Series 400. You can pick them up at any restaurant supply store, and they're very tough and durable. And what we do is we fill this up about halfway full of water. And if you're working close, say in your home, and you have a project that you can move into your kitchen, you can work directly off your stove. All we ask for is that you create a low controlled steam coming from the hot water, and place a cloth. What we like is an unbleached muslin because it's very tough and lasts. And we just stretch this over the top, clip it on with clothespins. There again, just items you have kicking around the house. The most important aspect of this is just to create a tough, fairly taut surface. So when you place the piece on the cloth, it doesn't pull down inside and touch the water. Now what we normally do is leave one corner open, and this enables us to dip our tools in there as we need them. So here you see the one exposed corner. And a lot of times, which is most important, is just to keep the cloth very moist, very wet, and this enables the steam to travel through the cloth a lot more easier, and also lets your ornament steam quicker and more efficiently. So just about every time we go to place an ornament, we'll wet it down first with the hot water. In this instance, we've built this handy rack to hold the cloth taut, and it just slips on and off because we use these out on the job, and constantly we're taking it on, filling it full of water, taking it off. And on the edge here, as you notice, we have blocks of the raw dough, just the raw, straight compo material. And what we use this for is with the pointing tool, we use this dough-like material as a filler or a compound. We go over all our joints with it and sculpting, and we'll get into that a little bit later. And also, you notice these slits cut in the side here, and we soak our brushes in there because to work the material, a nice, hot, dry brush for working and smoothing and detailing the ornament. Now, when you take a piece of the ornament and lay it on the back, what happens when the steam hits the back of the ornament, it activates the glue inside and makes the back very wet and very sticky and very pliable. So when the compo is flexible as is, when you steam it, it makes it even more so. And depending on how fresh the piece is, how thin it is, or how thick it is all geared to how fast the compo will steam. In this instance, since it's so thin, it's going to kick off and steam very quickly. Okay, now this has only been on for about 30 seconds or so, and you can see the gummy, gluey pliability of the ornament. And then from this state, go ahead and attach it to your working surface. One thing is, if you find that for whatever reason you have to leave this piece on the steamer and you go to pick it up and it's entirely too soft to pick up, what we normally do is just take a tool, a large spackle knife, putty knife, scoop underneath, and simply throw it around now. Simply flip it upside down and let it dry so it retains its shape, and then go ahead and after like an hour or so you can reuse the piece. Okay, so I'm going to take the bottom two pieces, which are ready to be steamed and laid, and pick them up and put them on the steamer. And with my brush, I'm going to wet the area. And I want you folks to steam these in pairs. And while they're steaming, I'm placing the straight edge in place. Okay. Now this has only been on for just a few seconds and already the piece is ready to steam. So I'm going to pick up the first one on the gummy backside and place it on. Now even after you place it, as you see, you still have time to play around with it, move it around, and do your final adjusting. If you want, you can even bring in a second straight edge to make it perfectly straight in the line. We'll go back with a pointing brush, as we call it, and just pick up that excess glue. But when you lay the fret, we'll steam and lay these two pieces first. I'll go ahead and put these on the steamer. And these are very thin, so I'm going to bring down the first piece of fret. It doesn't matter which way you put it, just as long as you keep it somewhat on the lines. And to keep it square, you can come in with your small 45, press it into place, scoot it around a little bit. That's pushing down, make sure all little points have made contact with the board. I'll make my cut. And then as I bring my two pieces together, I end up with a perfect miter. What we can do is we can take the pointing tool and with a steamer, at the raw material that I'm going to take this and just butter this edge a little tiny bit. It's going to act as an adhesive for when the two bond together. And I'll bring the other piece up into it. I can press and work that corner together, and I'm going to know now that that corner is never going to pop open or crack open. And with the pointing tool, come and smooth out the excess material. And there's still a seam showing. Just like you're frosting a cake. I'll take my finger and just smooth it out. And then take a pointing brush and just pick up the excess material and use that to smooth it out. And with your pen knife, come in and cut.
What you've just seen is an excerpt from our seminar tape. We wanted to show you how you use some of the various tools and some of the basic mechanics. Of course, the full tape shows you the great detail that we go to or through to produce these things that you will find are basic in doing composition work. We've shown you this Ormolu period clock alongside one of our panel designs to show you how closely our work relates to that in history. As you look at this panel, take a close look at how the ornament has been dimensioned. It's standing out in midair. We show you that on that particular video. Of course, the gold leafing is covered separately on another videotape. This is a little combination of flowers that I chose and cut and laid out to put together for you in a very special little project that I think will delight you. I've always loved some of the beautiful chinoiserie designs from history. So I took this inexpensive lamp, I think I paid under $100 for it, and here I'm blocking in to see approximately where I want that piece to go. Naturally, because it's black china, it's hard to mark on it to show where the design is going to go. So in essence, I'm just eyeballing this design. I've steamed the piece for probably about 30 to 40 seconds, and now I'm just carefully with the pads of my hands securing the ornament to the vase. You can see how quickly the ornament takes hold. When you're working on something like this, you're working on a very slippery surface, and it's very hard to get it to initially take hold because you're hanging on to the lamp to keep it from moving, and you're trying to secure the ornament in the place in which you want it to go. You can see as you watch this that you can kind of squiggle the ornaments around it. If you don't get one exactly where you want it, then you go ahead and you move it over to wherever you want it to go. Of course, doing this kind of a design is very, very easy because of the flow of the flowers. There is no real exact layout that you have to follow. Just anything that looks good is where you can leave it. Trying to remember my original layout in a design like this is not easy. I probably should have drawn it on a piece of paper, but after you've done this stuff as many years as I do, you sometimes tend to rely too much on your memory. You can see where I just squished that leaf over because I didn't get it exactly where I wanted it when I first put it down. That ooze that you see, I really squished it there. But getting the ooze off is very easy. You just take a little brush with some water and you simply clean it and blot it. You'll find that if you will dip your brush in water and then squeeze all the water out, the brush acts as a sponge. You can see how quickly this takes hold, and this china surface is probably one of the most difficult surfaces to bond to, particularly when it's round in addition to the slippery surface. Doing a mirror by comparison is much easier. Don't let the ooze of the compo disturb you, because it's just a matter of going back and cleaning it with a brush and water. I love the whimsical, non-symmetrical layout that you can do with flowers. Now this is the finished part of the floral part of the design, but as I looked at it, I just felt that that bottom looked like it had been forgotten. You can see how this is being wound around the bottom, but also if you look carefully, you'll see that I have a compound radius in there. The bottom part is a greater radius than the top part of the ornament. And in addition to laying it on that kind of a surface, I had to make sure that the design repeat came out evenly. And the design repeat was a little bit longer than the space that I had to put it in, so that after I cut it and steamed it, I now, if you look, you'll see there's a little bit of a gap there in the middle. You just simply press that in. The ornament is so elastic that it just folds in and makes your joint and your design repeat perfect. The formulas that we use are truly amazing. You'll find that they are literally foolproof, and you should have a lot of fun in playing with it. I always encourage you to start in some small project to get your feet wet, to play with the ornament and see what you want to do with it. Then you can go ahead and do any of the more complex projects that you might do, or even just the very simple ones, whatever pleases your eye. You can see the ceiling of our room reflected in the background of that vase. Slightly distorted, but nonetheless reflected in there. Naturally, between cutting the ornament and putting it in place, I put it on the steamer to activate the glue in the ornament. This is just a plain paper shade, as you frequently get with a less expensive lamp. I'm going through the same process and steaming the ornament, and I will then apply it to the paper shade. And it bonds just as easily to that as anything else. I don't like to wait for ornaments to steam, so that when one piece is about ready to lay, I'll lay my next piece on. Now this one it was hard to hold that shade in place while I place the ornament in its location. I'm using one hand from underneath to support the paper shade and the other hand to press the ornament into place. Then, as with the other, that little tiny bit of ooze, I'll take a water brush, as you saw Rob do, and just quickly and lightly wash it off. I like to do it at this point before that ooze really has a chance to set. Once it sets up, it's much harder to remove. It takes more water. When you're working on paper, you want to use as little water as you can. This is the lamp finished. I used some freshly mixed shellac for the color, and then I went over it with a universal color in black and wiped it back so that the black hid in the recesses of the flowers. People have come in and looked at this lamp, and it really has the look of some ancient exotic Chinese art form. It really is wonderful. I would guess offhand that the entire ornamentation on that took me less than an hour. Now, if you want to go from one extreme to another, this is a 6.5 foot Chinese vase that we did for some clients several years ago. We used the exact techniques of steaming and self-bonding the ornaments. As you look at those cherubs are from an 18th century mirror that we have. From the extended hand, you have a swag of flowers that's standing in mid-air. And the ropes on the side of the vase were wired and are hanging in mid-air. The gilding, the hand coloring, we cover on other tapes, and we cover the wiring of ornament on our advanced installation techniques, our videotape number 2. These are 2 cabinet doors. The cabinet door in the rear has the original paint finish, which is a typical maple color of about 10 years ago, and all we did was put a light spray of beige paint on top of it, just a soft beige, and then sealed it with a clear shellac to get it into a more fashionable color for today's taste. Then I'm taking and just doing several very, very simple ornament combinations for you. As you look at these ornament combinations, you'll see where I've used one design in the center panel and then another linear treatment around the edge. By nature of the way this ornament works, you can interchange, you can mix and match. For example, when I finish this, you'll see just the four corners, and then I'm going to add a linear. If you like it, or for budget purposes you want just the four corners, that's all you use. You'll omit the linear around the edge. And or you might like a full treatment on your upper doors of your kitchen where you have both the corners and the linear treatment, but you may not want that much design in your kitchen, and you may want to use just the peripheral linear treatment on the bottom cabinets. Also, you can interchange. You can use one linear with another design and so forth. This design that I'm laying is part of architectural history. It's called a bead and barrel. This particular one has 3 beads and 1 barrel. I was amused recently. We were doing a very, very, very elite type of installation, and the owner of the home was quite amused because my workman humorously referred to this particular piece as beans and wieners, so that perhaps we've come up with a new name for it. As you look at this, you see how the beads are matched in the corners, how the beads are centered on the sides of the panel, and so forth. These are all things that you will learn to look for, but it gives it the perfect symmetry that goes with our work. With the elasticity of the ornament, you can make it come out perfectly evenly. Now this little piece, I just laid down the layout. I did not draw around the outside edge. Like I said, I've done this for so many years that I've got a pretty good eye. But those of you who are just beginning might want to do your layout and pencil around the outside edge. When you do that, it's advisable to do your tracing right inside the edge of the ornament so that when the ornament goes down, it will cover your pencil marks, particularly when you're working on raw wood or any finish that is not going to be given an absolute paint finish. These little flowers are absolutely precious. They're a piece that were sent to me from an old collection from Maine that dated to about 1880. We only had one direction. We only had like a right, and I had the matching other side carved so that we could have both the left and the right side. Just a superb little piece. Now I'm going to lay out, this piece is called a laurel leaf and berry, and it's what we call a directional ornament. I'm going to mark the spot where I'm going to cut my miter, and on my cardboard I've marked a line that gives me a direction to follow with my head knife. You saw Rob use this same knife just a moment ago. You can see how easily the ornament cuts. Also, it's fun because you can see how that cut at this point before I correct it is off a little bit. Once you steam that, you can take your pointing tool and blend that all right back in. It's not like working with wood, not at all. In a design like this, you want to start your design from the center and then go to the corners. You can see me pressing in the dough with our pointing tool. Incidentally, we have those pointing tools for sale for you if you can't find something locally. I have those specially made in Germany to our specifications. It has 2 ends on it, and between the 2 ends it does almost anything that you want to do in the right shape and size. I'm now taking this crossed ribbon to lay over that joint, and I have to cut the crossed ribbon to fit the dimension of that laurel leaf and berry. You'll see how I'm going to steam this and then tuck the ends of the ribbon back under. It's a wonderful way to cover up a joint. But once you start looking in history, you'll see that that's the way they did it. And here's the finished door. This linear is one of my favorites. It's so sharp and detailed that I think I'm going to use this same piece, peripheral piece, on some cabinets that I want to do for a house that we're doing as a sample design house. Here I'm going to show you very quickly how you go about glazing. You'll find this in very great detail on our videotape that I believe they've called it Lena's Coloring Techniques, and it's just a simple antiquing or glaze that has been put on top of the sprayed ornament. It's the glaze that gives the shadow to the ornament and really enhances it and brings it out. Really gives it definition. It also gives it very much of a wood-like character, and when it's all completed it looks very much like a carved piece of wood. In fact, it looks like what you'd like a carved piece of wood to look like. Once I spread the glaze, then I take a dry brush for my beginning of my feathering technique, but I cover this in great detail on the other. Here's your finished panel. We used these doors in our February 1992 ad in Architectural Digest, and I did something, the Morning Glory here is a little more simple and a little more contemporary, and I did not use a peripheral molding on this. Naturally, you could if you wanted to. We have dozens that you could choose from. This is the one that I call Country French, and I particularly like the detail that is down here at the bottom. It's so typical of a French carving. The peripheral linear is very pretty too. Very graceful. Those roses have a lovely depth to them. And then this is the great collage. You can see the definition that the ornament has as a result of that glaze. Really makes the ornament pop and read. This is just one simple piece of ornament that went down in just a few seconds. And this is the door that we started out with. But now it has its finish on it. To me, this just has that wonderful turn-of-the-century Victorian look, but yet so simple. Naturally, we have literally thousands of pieces to choose from, so that you can become your own interior designer and choose whatever pieces delight your eye. And this is the one that we call Copa de Flores. Notice the direction of the leaves, the way they point, and how they all work with each other and balance each other. Now we took the door idea, and this was done in a simple bathroom. You're seeing it reflected in a mirror panel to the right. Very, very simple, and this is the only decoration in this very pretty bathroom. Work like this is amazingly inexpensive, and as you become familiar with the price list that came in your brochure, I think you'll agree with me. This is one of our very, very pretty, complicated composites that we show you how to put together from beginning to end in our Advanced Installation Techniques videotape. As you begin to come on down to the doors, you can see how we just used a very, very simple peripheral ornament to detail the doors. When I'm doing doors for clients, I like to differentiate between the front and the back side of the doors. I usually do the back side, the less often seen doors, in a more simple manner. thought you'd enjoy seeing an application where the ornament has been self-bonded to mirror. The same steaming techniques that you saw used on that vase were used in applying it to the mirrors, along with the side panels that flank this mirror design. I don't think you can find anything that comes any closer to replicating the beauty of French design. This is particularly fine for a dining room design. Years ago, I found this old mirror, this antique mirror, in an antique store, and it was badly damaged with many, many, many of its pieces missing. But the mirror was intact. So, knowing what I could do with it, I bought it. And we restored the ornament, and I restored the ornament that I added back to the look of the original ornament, because the original frame had been water gilded and was probably about 200 years old. I really did not want to disturb that original leaf, so I just blended the pieces that I added into the old work. As you look at this, you'll see an example of older work. The design on this mirror frame was just exquisite. One of the charms of composition work is the way that compo will overlay your simple wood moldings. In other words, they don't keep the compo within the confines and in the borders of the wood molding. They always break and lay it over the edge. You'll see it here, the way the flower breaks the edge, petals of the flower up above. Once you become aware of it and you're looking at historical work, you'll become very much aware of what I'm talking about. And that's part of the charm of this work. Can you tell what I added? If I didn't remember, I couldn't. This is a mirror that we designed about 3 years ago. What I wanted to do was I wanted to take the best of some of the great mirrors from Versailles and combine it in a much smaller scale. See how the ornament has been placed back to back so that as the ornament reflects in the mirror, you see ornament reflected, not just a flat back. The ribbons, the angels, they're all standing out in midair. The ropes on the side of the mirror are also standing in midair. As you look at some of these shots, also catch the backgrounds where you'll see some of our plaster moldings, which we do on a custom basis for special clients. And please, as you look at this, know that every ornament that you're looking at appears in either Volume 2 or Volume 3 of our series of books. They are very, very accessible to you. Now you can see the plaster moldings again. This is a picture frame that I did about 15-20 years ago, and it was one of the first projects I ever tackled. And I just took a bunch of pieces and started cutting them up and laying them into corners because I wanted something very, very, very special. About 1970, this picture frame, which frames an 11 by 14, appraised for $600. So it helps to give you a feeling of the value that this work has. This is another picture frame that I did in that same period of time, and it's just a simple gold leaf finish with a tortoiseshell finish on top of it. Again, all the pieces that you're seeing appear in either Volume 2 or Volume 3. This is our drapery tie backs. And we've come up with some marvelous designs. You'll see these featured on a special page in your brochure. And this is the granddaddy. This is the tie back that started the whole thing. Very, very three-dimensional. We're now taking you to the point where you can look into our conference room, and with this, I tell you goodbye. Come and visit us anytime you're in town. We'd love to see you. Thank you.